I never wanted to be like this. This isn't something that I plan to do with my life. Little girls don't dream of growing up one day and giving other people their children to raise.
My name is Bernadette. I live in Fairfax, Virginia with my wonderful partner and my cat.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Garman, and I'm actually an adoption social worker.
My name is Mira Ribbon.
My name is Sue Spetnars.
My name is Claudia Cargan Darcy. I'm going to be 40 years old on my next birthday.
I work for a consulting firm. I do long-term care research, have a PhD in public policy.
I work professionally as Director of Internal Communications for a very large insurance group.
I relinquished my firstborn daughter for adoption in 1967. That's 40 years ago.
I'm the mother to 4 children, the oldest which I lost to adoption in 1987 when I was 19 years old.
I have an 8-year-old son who actually just had a birthday in September. I'm a mother to 3 children. The first one was born in 1986 and was surrendered to adoption.
In 1990, I was coerced into surrendering my son to adoption.
Initially, my adoption started in an open sense where we had a relationship, and it has now since become very close, although I do receive a few pictures and a short little note from the family, but nothing about how he's doing. I was a resident of a maternity home for 5 months prior to my surrender of my child. Prior to signing the papers, I was not given any legal counsel. I was not given any advice or suggestions or information on what the actual process was.
This is me and my son. I only saw him for the 2 days that we were together in the hospital, and this is the picture of us the last time that we were together.
I just hope that one day he realizes what I went through and doing something that I thought would be better for him.
While I wasn't treated badly by my agency, there were definitely certain things that were completely wrong. My agency was very enabling in letting my child's father get off scot-free and did not tell this 19-year-old person that really the moral and ethical thing to do would be to inform this man that his only child was about to be born.
But just the way they treated me, it's as if I carried something for them, that my uterus was used for their sole purpose and that they did me a service.
By taking your son?
By taking my son. Most notably from my particular circumstances was that my parents were forced to sign a promissory note indicating that if I did not relinquish my daughter, that they would pay back any fees owed to the agency for any services provided to me. My heart was ripped out of me when I saw it. And when they cut me out of the picture and no longer acknowledged me and what my role was, that all that stuff that I experienced, the pain, the loss, meant nothing. For what? It is now 22 years later. I am in reunion with my daughter. However, we haven't met face to face yet.
I have found my son since then. He is very happy to be found.
She has not had an ideal situation. Not that adoption can ever be an ideal situation, but we're working through reunion.
But even on the most wonderful day of my life, when my children were finally reunited, and for the first time in my whole life, I stood in a room with everybody that I loved, and all 4 of my children were there. It was so bittersweet because the one thing that my son said to me and to everybody that was there was it was the first time in his life that he felt like he was not the oddball anymore, that he was where he fit in. And it was supposed to be better than that. I was promised that he would have more than that. And it turned out that it was all lies, because my pirate boy should not have been sent to live among the tennis set.
And my firstborn daughter, who I surrendered, is deceased. She took her own life when she was 27, which unfortunately is not unusual. Adoptees do have a higher rate of suicide than the rest of the population.
There is no way to adequately prepare anybody for what a lifetime of living without your child is like.
I feel like the decision that I made hasn't been validated because it's almost like they've written me off.
Losing my son was totally devastating. As far as how the adoption has impacted my life, it personally impacted every single aspect of my life, from my sleep to my eating habits, to the man I chose to marry, to the career I have, to the homes I have purchased, to the friends I have selected, to every aspect of my life was impacted significantly by the trauma of losing my daughter to adoption. Losing my son was totally devastating.
And it makes sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to other people, but to me, I live with it every single day.
It affected every single aspect of my life. It affects my children to this day, something that I would never have imagined and was never prepared for.
Totally devastating.
I've devoted my life to working on issues of adoption. As a result, it's changed every aspect of my life.
And I am working to stop the adoption industry from needlessly separating more mothers and children, and that's what keeps me going, is telling my story and fighting back.
There was a father that should have been responsible, as well as myself. I should have been made to be responsible. There was no financial concerns, and I'm a damn good mother.
It's a part of who I am. It's something that I cannot take away. And it's something that oftentimes people don't know unless I share with them. But I know every single day. And my son will always have a part of me that was taken away.
And haven't forgotten in 40 years, and never will.
And he should have been with his people all the time. And adoption should not separate mothers and their children anymore.
An epiphany is a radical change in your life that you just never saw coming, never expected to happen, and then bam, it's there, and from that moment forward, everything is different. I remember when it happened for us. We were driving up in northern Minnesota on vacation. My cell phone rang. I answered the phone, and it was Pam from the adoption agency, and we had to pull over to the side of the road because I knew what she was going to say. And she said, "We have a baby for you." Every adoptive parent goes through that exact experience and can remember years later exactly when they got the call.
You and me and you, there's so much that we've been through it all, I've come to understand God's love.
The night that Mariah was placed in my arms, I just knew that this was meant to be and that it was a miracle.
When I picked her up, it was as if a piece of me that had been missing was returned.
It was amazing. It was love at first sight.
The reality is there are 50 million children in the world today who don't know what it's like to be in a safe home and a loving family. They go to bed every night alone, hoping that someone will reach out and take them into their family.
Yes, I dare to make it through on my own.
It's an amazing thing watching a young child come to life. You know, that's been the fun part about this whole experience for us, is that they've really stepped out of who they were. And we say oftentimes that they've just been reborn, you know, that they've literally taken on new lives, new identities, and watching just the whole process of discovery for them.
Takes you in. Everything changes.
Children come into your life through adoption. Instantly, you're able to bond with them and they bond with you.
We never dreamed adoption would be a part of our family, but it's been the ultimate joy to have Angela become part of our life.
We are family, and there's no bond tighter, I feel. I don't feel that you have to have a lot of people in a family to become a family. And you don't have to look the same either.
If you are even remotely thinking about adoption, listen to your heart and think about being a parent. Adoption is a means to be a parent.
They are just our children, and they're part of our family. They'll always be part of our family. And, you know, it's really just about love for us.
And love is the major change that happens when a child goes from living in an orphanage to being in a permanent home with a real family. Love is the defining change that comes into their lives.
I've been waiting all my life. I've been waiting for you.
We have an obligation to the children of the world to help them find their place.
If you haven't considered adoption, I would beg you to consider one of these children in the world that desperately needs a mom and a dad. If you have considered adoption, then I'm begging you, take the next step.
Listen to your heart and find an agency that can help you be a parent.
Go for it. You are in for the best experience of your life.
So I've been waiting all my life. I've been waiting for you to come.
The menstrual cycle of fertile women usually lasts about a month. During this time, and under the influence of the body's own natural hormones, a tiny sac within the ovary containing an egg grows to about the size of a grape. At a point midway in the cycle, this egg is released from the ovary and ovulation occurs. Ovulation is also regulated by hormones. The egg, which from this moment on is ready for fertilization, then passes into the uterine tubes to await the arrival of fertile sperm. Ovulation is a naturally occurring event, and the desire to have children is a similarly natural instinct. But that instinct cannot always be fulfilled. The causes of unwanted childlessness are numerous, but so are the means of treating them. The technique of in vitro fertilization, or IVF, removes several eggs from the ovary for fertilization in the laboratory. After a few days, 1 or 2 of these fertilized eggs, which are now known as embryos, are returned to the uterus in the hope that they implant and become a pregnancy. Women having IVF are given special reproductive hormones to encourage several eggs to develop in the ovaries. Final maturation of the egg itself is induced by the administration of a further hormone. 36 hours later, fluid containing the eggs is drawn from the ovary with a needle. This is usually performed under light sedation in a short outpatient procedure with the doctor using ultrasound to check proceedings. The eggs collected from the ovary are then mixed with a sample of the male partner's sperm, which has already been washed and concentrated. The eggs and sperm are left in an incubator set at 37 degrees for 24 hours so that fertilization can take place. During this time, only one of the many sperm cells will penetrate the outer layer of the egg and achieve fertilization. Following fertilization, the cells divide and multiply and form an embryo. After 2 or 3 days, a healthy embryo will comprise around 8 cells. It is then transferred to the uterus by means of a thin, flexible tube, where it is left to implant and form a pregnancy. All these methods of assisted reproduction offer couples a good chance of bringing a healthy baby into the world. A consultation and thorough examination are necessary for each individual patient for finding the most appropriate treatment with the highest chance of success. Because female fertility decreases quite quickly after the age of 35, infertile couples should not delay seeking appropriate medical advice.